मैं थर्ड इयर चलाले కదా
ఈ మార్చ్
చూసాను
మార్చ్కి సెకండ్ ఇయర్ Hello. Good afternoon, guys. Hi, Saitya Garu. Good afternoon. So, students will wait for another 1 minute. Okay. So, we have Mr. Jai Prakash, one of our guest speakers, and one more guest speaker, Mr. Deepak Agarwal, will join at 4:15. Okay. So, we'll start in 1 minute. Just give me a moment. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, yes, I did. Just for the host. Okay, okay. You made it right. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Jay Prakash.
Yes, Arvind.
Yeah, hi. So thanks for making time. So guys, we have Mr. Jay Prakash. I'll give quick intro. Okay. And then, so let me share the screen. I'll introduce Mr. JP and then we'll proceed with. Okay. So guys, so Mr. Jay Prakash is a PMP certified professional, and of course he is senior principal software engineer at Oracle, and of course he is a blockchain expert. He has experience working on a supply chain blockchain project. So I invited him. So thanks JP for joining us. So we have around 70 plus engineering college students, okay, across colleges of AP government.
Mhm.
So this is one of the initiative, upskilling initiative by APSSDC, which is Andhra Pradesh upskilling body, which is under government of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so over to you, JP.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arvind, for the opportunity. It is really wonderful speaking to the students. I hope you can see my screen. Let me know, guys, if you can see my screen.
Not yet, JP. You can.
Yeah, yeah. Hope you can see it now.
Yes, yes. Now it's
Yes.
visible. Yeah.
Yeah. Students, I hope you know what is a blockchain, uh, how
Yes,
it
yes,
works.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So all that is done. So
Okay. Okay. I think if Arvind has already set the platform, it will be easy for me. It may be a bit difficult during afternoon, but fine. I'll make sure that I'll not bore you much. Okay, supply chain, it is very much connected to each one of us. It is everybody is connected to the supply chain. whether they are really working in the supply chain management. If as a users, at least they'll be impacted with the supply chain management. Okay, so if you see any product, if it has to be get manufactured, there will be raw materials that will be supplied from the supplier to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer make the product. And once the product is done from the manufacturer, he'll hand it over to the distributors, and from there it goes to the retailers, and then it goes to the shops where we'll go and buy the product, right? In fact, most of the products, at least I can say some 70 to 80% of the products follow the same process, right? And the product travels from the supplier to the shopkeeper, and the information travels in the other direction. Okay, so what is the amount of sales that we have done? What are the different set of products that are already been shipped? So whether it is received or not, all set of information will move in the other side. Okay, we'll see more details in the coming slides. In supply chain management, it includes integrated planning as well as the execution of different processes within the supply chain. And if you see what are the different processes that we have, mainly there are three processes. One is the material flow, which we have already seen in the first slide. Material flow, which starts from left to right. Information flow starts from right to left. And there is a financial capital flow. Okay, so these all things that happens. This is true for financial capital flow. If you see it, it could be in both the directions. If you see, so there is a lot of information that is moving in all these chains that we have seen, but we are not sure from where we exactly getting that material. Say, for example, if I want to buy one particular shirt, okay, say there is some occasion in my house, I want to buy a shirt. I prefer to have the best quality for my shirt, right? So I don't go to the roadside and buy it because it's the best occasion for me. I have to buy a good one. The reason why I don't go to the roads, I go to the best shop. I believe that they procure the goods from the best raw material vendors and make the shirt. So that is the reason I'm going there, right? And but we are not sure. We just have the belief on that particular shop vendor and taking that taking the shirt and buying the shirt and using it during our vacation. But we are not sure from where exactly that raw material has come from. We are just going by the name and buying it. That's it, right? Let me show you an example. Say there is one use case. Let me show you that. Yeah, so this is so the Walmart has done this this exercise, this pilot program, where they want to know. See, this is this mango slice is getting used by one of the customers. Okay, but which is sold by Walmart. But if this customer wants to know from which mango garden this particular mango is picked, if it has to go in reverse direction like this. Okay, if this information is available, so she'll be very happy. She know that authentic information is there to identify from which farm my mango is being procured. Okay, and this way I'm ready to pay for the product which I'm buying it from, whatever it may be, the vendor, it may be Walmart, it may be Amazon, it may be somebody else. Okay, Walmart has done this particular project. They usually take 7 days. That is the minimum amount of the time that was the maximum, I mean, the minimum amount within which they can find this information for any product. They have taken mango slice and they worked on it. It took almost 7 days for them to identify from which farm they got this particular mango. Okay, so by implementation of the blockchain, they could able to reduce that particular timeline from 7 days to 2.2 seconds. So that is the beauty of a blockchain. Means when a mango starts from here, my blockchain will be implemented, and every information that is getting in this, everything will be added as a block, and nobody can tamper it, nobody can rewrite it. So that is the beauty of the blockchain, with which I can identify, the customer can happily get that information from where this Mango got picked up from. Okay, you got it, what I'm trying to say? Okay, let me go back to the presentation. So that is the material flow that we have looked at. We see what are the challenges which supply chain is facing as on today. So lack of data flow across supply chain. So supply chain has complex with omni channels starting from suppliers, manufacturers, outsourced production units, warehouses, distribution, retailers, and even end customers. This is how we have seen, right? That is the first slide that we have seen, only this. So every stakeholder maintains their centralized ERP. So not that there is no IT system as on today, which the Walmart is following. Has its own ERP. The suppliers from which the Walmart is procuring the raw materials, they have their own ERP and the CRM systems. And the Walmart, when it is getting it from some production units, they have their own ERP and CRM systems, but these are not integrated. These are working in silos. So there is no integrated mechanism, and nobody usually want to have it, in fact. Okay, so that is the reason. So there is a lot of disconnect between the data that is getting shared from one to the other. Okay, so everybody has their own ERP systems and CRM systems, but are not integrated or not connected. So the information which is there with the production units may not be there with Walmart. The information which is there with the raw material supplier may not be there with the production units. This is how it is working as on today. And if you see the other challenge, substandard or counterfeit mixing of goods. This is one of the biggest challenges which the supply chain management is facing today. Take an example of the country like India. In India itself, because of counterfeit products, counterfeiters, fake products, almost 1 lakh crore amount is getting wasted or is getting lost because of this counterfeit products. So for example, I was quoting the same example earlier as well in one of my sessions. Why anybody wants to go for it is mainly for the quality, right? If one of the suppliers or one of the distributor of bench car, if you have mixed some of their parts, removing the bench parts, adding some other product parts in place of the bench parts, it is going to spoil the image of bench, right? Mercedes bench. Same is the case with any product. So if anybody is mixing it in between, there is no way that I can trace it or track it. So lack of traceability due to the data scattered across multiple IT systems or manual process, as we discussed in the previous section. Yes, that's what we mentioned, right? Suppliers have their own ERPs, distributors have their own ERPs, production units have their own ERPs and CRM systems, but they are not integrated. So there is no way, even if I push or if I mix any of the counterfeit products, there is no way to identify that. And counterfeiting or substandard products get into supply chain, brand lose reputation, that is the biggest thing, and consumer confidence and income is also lost. Yes, because they don't have belief on that product. If if fake products got mixed into what they buy. Okay, so that is the biggest challenge the supply chain management is facing today. Paperwork and inefficient process of coordination. So this is one of the biggest challenges, because for any shopkeeper or whoever it may be, the production units or big companies, they have to maintain all these paperwork for all this audit related stuff. So it is very difficult for them. So they have to make sure to get these ISI audits and all happens, right? To make sure the quality of the product is to the standards which was promised with the company. So to maintain that, they have to maintain a lot of records, paperwork and all. So every transfer of ownership and process are paper intensive, time consuming and coordination intensive, which in turn increases the cost of the operations and bring down the operation efficiency. Let me give an example, particularly in case of imports and exports. If any consignment got imported from any country, right? So it requires almost 30 plus different documents that has to be ratified, that has to be verified by the customs, then only they'll release it. Okay, without which the product will not be released. Because of this paper intensive work, a lot of time the goods will be lying down at the shore itself, which is biggest loss to the companies, because some products might be perishable goods. Even if the delay for 4 to 5 days, it is going to spoil the product, and which they cannot sell it in the market, even if it is out after that. So these are the different set of challenges which the supply chain management is facing as on today. Okay, hope you are getting it, what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what is the solution approach for these challenges that we are facing? Somebody picking in the chat. Okay, trace and track. So blockchain can act as a layer on top of ERP systems, can track and trace the inward and outward of the product. So what is coming in, what is going out, everything can be integrated using a blockchain at every transfer of ownership. So a block will be added. Okay, so if it is coming in, a block will be added. If it is going out, another block will be added. No block will be modified. So that is the best thing that we have it in the blockchain. Shared data, automatic reconciliation. So previously what we've discussed, so every unit like a supplier or a retailer or whoever it may be, the production units or the wholesaler, whoever it may be, they were maintaining their own ERPs. So, but the data is not getting shared. So with the introduction of this blockchain, the data can be shared. As records of transaction gets updated across the nodes maintained by the stakeholders, can create automatic reconciliation of the data, which decreases the information sharing overhead. So that block, whatever is being updated by, say, the production unit, so that will be transferred to the, what you call, that will be made available to the wholesaler so that he can add the data on top of it. Okay. So and an extra reconciliation step that is required, it is automatically getting reconciled. Anti-counterfeiting is the, I can work against the fake products. Asset IDs duplicated or found at wrong locations can easily be identified, and fraudulent activities can put at a check. Not that it is fake products cannot be introduced with the implementation of blockchain. No, I'm not saying that. But even if they are introduced, even if they are made part of a regular product, I can easily identify that as a fake product. So that is the beauty of a blockchain. So vendor contract management. All the business terms and conditions can be made into a smart contracts, and vendor management and all the transactions can be automated. What it says is, so usually when I'm buying products, so say for example, wholesaler is buying it from uh, a production unit. Okay, what is the condition that usually they have it? So whatever the products that I'm getting, so if I'm buying in 1 million records, so if I'm buying 1 million items, so I'll make sure that 99% of my products should be to the expected level. If it is not, then I'm not going to pay the money to the production unit. So that is a contract that usually any wholesaler will have it with a production unit. Okay, if there is any violation in that contract, then whatever the shared terms, maybe if 10% defective is there, maybe he may reduce 20% of the amount that is going to pay to the production unit. So these are all different terms that I have it in my contract. So this is, as on today, it is implemented on paper. But with the introduction of this blockchain, I can make this as a smart contract. With that, there is no need for you to have any bargain between a supplier and a production unit. It will be done automatically by the blockchain itself. It will see, yes, if 80% or 99% of the goods are of expected quality, automatically it will transfer the money which has been agreed by the wholesaler to the production unit. If it is not, automatically that amount will be deducted and the rest of the money will be transferred to the production unit. This is how it works. Okay. And easy recalls and auto replenishment. what does it mean? If something goes wrong, say for example, many a times you might have heard, right? Maruti is recalling so-and-so cars, or Toyota is recalling so-and-so model of its cars, because they know that this set of cars have some issues. So they want to rectify it. Many times what happens is, though they may feel that only 10% of the inventory which they have sent it has an issues, they even recall all the 100 products. The reason being, they may not be in a position to identify where that particular car which is faulty has went into. Okay, with the introduction of the blockchain, they can easily pick only those 10% and recall those 10% of the inventory, do the changes or modify the faulty component which is there in the car, and can send it back. And capacity planning, because this information is getting shared at the retailer level, the production unit can identify what is the capacity that is already there, or what is the capacity that is already been consumed at the retailer level, and they can plan their production. So due to the changes in the supply chain and demand or undetermined, capacity planning and time cycles of planning, procurement, order processing can be brought for effective utilization. Toyota follows this actually. Toyota has a zero inventory concept. The reason being, if they have zero inventory, means they are not investing their money on their inventory, and they can have the best cost for the product which they have released. Okay, and let's go to the 4 T's of a blockchain: trackability, traceability, trust, and transparency. These are the things that we can achieve with a blockchain. I can track it where exactly it is. I can trace it. Okay, I can trust. I can have the trust on that particular chain of the information. I have a clear transparency because nobody can alter the information that is there in the blockchain. Okay, blockchain as a solution, if you see, we have a smart contracts. So smart contracts are self-executable codes. Once deployed, can automate the process of transaction based on a business logic. That's what I explained it in my previous slide, right? So if there is any contract that happens between two parties and they have agreed and it is made as a part of a code, then what happens is, if that particular condition is met, automatically the transaction happens. Just like if else conditions that we write it in C code, right? That is going to have it in my smart contracts. If condition A met, S, transfer this. If condition B met, transfer this. If condition C met, transfer this. So because of this, a lot of issues usually have it in the general supply chain industry that can be eradicated with the introduction of a smart contracts. And controlled disclosure of data. What does it mean? So I mentioned, right, when I can start my block starting from my supplier to my production unit, to my wholesaler, retailer, and to my, what you call, the shopkeeper. Okay, but not that every information can be shared to everyone, right? The consumer might be very much interested to know the information from which form they got this particular product. Say, like an example of the mango, which we have already discussed. So he might be interested to know from so and so form. Say, for example, Walmart says that, okay, you got these dates from Saudi Arabia. Usually dates are very famous, the quality of the dates are very good if you procure it from Saudi and those countries, right? So if they say that, and if the consumer, when I'm buying it, if I have some QR code or something using which if I can scan it and make sure that the product is really from so-and-so country, then that is sufficient for me. I'm not worried about from where it got packed and for how it got traveled from which country to which country. I'm not worried about all those, right? So what I'm trying to say here is, I can make sure the information is controlled in the blockchain. Who should see what information? That way of control that I can have it using my blockchain. And API integration. Blockchain supports API integration so that integration with all the stakeholders, ERP systems, is possible. Means, as I already mentioned, we do have the ERP systems in each and every sector. So my blockchain solution can be integrated with the existing ERP itself. So there is no need for me to change the complete setup. Okay. So that is one of the beauty of the blockchain. Audit, if you see, supply chains may involve regulators and complex compliance checks, which can be made easily available. So with the introduction of this blockchain, everything is transparent. And even for any audits which they want to look at it, there is no need for them to refer to multiple documents to check if it is of a desired quality or not. Because with the introduction of the blockchain, they can clearly see from where the raw material is coming, where the production is happening, and who is the wholesaler, who is the supplier. So all this information is very much available. They can look at it, that information, and certify. Okay. Let's see the case study. This is one of the important case studies. Industry body ASSOCHAM wrote a report, fake and counterfeit drugs in India is booming the business. That take drugs which constitute to US 4.25 billion of the total 14 to 17 billion of domestic drugs market, means 25% of the products that we are having it in the India market with respect to the medical products are almost fake. Okay. And it is not up to the standards it has to be. So according to the outsourcing pharma in 2012, 75% of the counterfeit products supplied worldwide has some origins from India. You see, I mean, because of which we are losing the value of our country. Second thing, the people in the country, they are consuming the fake products, assuming that they are taking the real medicines, which is impacting their health to the great extent. Okay. And it is also impacting the revenue, the GDP of our country. Yes. So this is one of the biggest challenges. And if you see the legacy system, the legacy fragmented network has following accessibility and service limitations. So trade in fake drugs is driven caused by the weakness in drug distribution system. So there is no proper supply chain management with respect to the drug distribution. So lack of awareness among consumers and lack of law enforcement. So there is no way as such as on today to scan the QR code on the medicine and identify whether it is a fake product or a real product. That information is not available. So manufacturers, logistic companies, wholesale pharmacies may not be able to offer complete visibility on authenticity of the drug, ensuring quality has demand intact. So they don't have the systems to prove that. Okay, keeping the drugs cold is an essential part of a supply chain that connects drug producers to patients. Okay, but storing the essential information related to cold chain shipping in centralized databases can be prone to manipulation of data hacks. Means what it does, it says is some of the products has to be kept under certain temperature, right? But where is the system that we have it in place which really says yes, this particular product, this particular drug is placed under so and so temperature? No, we don't have the system in place. But with the introduction of the blockchain, I can even have this information in place. And from drug distribution, production to the distribution, every step has to comply with regulations under the drug supply chain laws. So how they are getting rid of all these things is they might be bribing the health inspectors or the people, and the system is getting polluted because of this. But there is no system as such in place which says this complete supply chain is traceable and trackable. Okay. So they are just getting certified by paying the bribes. And latest system, if you see, the distributor platform model eliminates these technical and business model limitations while bringing the following benefits. What is the benefit? Let's see one of the other. End-to-end traceability of health products facilitates the optimization of flow of goods and an efficient stock management systems. So what is a product that I have it as in my stock today? If anybody wants to see it, they should be in a position to list that information. So that is possible with this. And drugs can be verified and authenticity can be ensured. So just like as I mentioned, right, with my mobile, I will be able to scan the QR code and say, yes, this is a right product or right drug from so-and-so company. Patient harm is reduced as drug checks are improved, and it would become a possible to examine vulnerable points in the supply chain and reduce the chances of frauds and the costs associated with it. Means, say for example, by scanning the QR code, if I find, okay, this is a fake product, I can easily identify where it is introduced, because this QR code scanning might have been already done at a wholesaler level. The same thing might have been done at a production unit level and also at the retailer level. So if it is a fake product identified at the retailer level, for sure that product might have been introduced at the retailer level itself. So I can easily identify where it got introduced. Information systems will hold expiry date details, which improves stock control and rotation. This is a very, very important thing with respect to the medicines, right? Medicines, if they got expired, there is no use of using it. If we use it, in fact, we'll have other side effects of using that expired product. So if company knows, yes, these are the expired products that are already there in so-and-so medical store, they can alert them. This product is already expired, get it removed from your tracks, get it removed from your store. So that sort of an information that the companies can give it to the medical stores. And regulators such as pharmacy inspectors can monitor the rate of the counterfeit drugs, that's the fake drugs, entering the supply chain with more accuracy, and they can take action. So if a retailer is doing this, they can take action on retailer. If wholesaler is doing this, they can take action on wholesaler. Like that, they can easily identify the place where it got introduced and take an action, appropriate action on those respective organizations. So hope you got a sense of this, the introduction of the blockchain, that we how vital or how important is it in the supply chain management. Let me show you one small example here. So this is almost a week's back information. Major Turkish terminals join IBM and Mastercard blockchain shipping platforms. I think you might have seen this, right? This particular company, there will be a lot of boxes on the trains, wagons with this particular name. So they have signed, so the IBM and this company have implemented a blockchain and for the supply chain. And they are now collaborating with the major terminals, the shipping terminals, so that they can easily exchange this information and they can reduce the time of the goods staying at the seashores. Okay, so that's it from my end. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can ask in the chat.
Thanks, JP, for your wonderful and insightful presentation. I hope most of the students might have realized the value of blockchain and how it is life-saving in some scenarios. Because at the end of the day, people use medicines on a day-to-day basis. And of course, the drug which we are taking, if it is a substandard drug or fake drug, it will not have any impact, and it may have very negative repercussions on the health. So I think that way blockchain can enable a lot of trust, transparency, trackability, and traceability, so that people can get the benefit. So like, see, in this way we can say blockchain is a technology for common man as well. And I think
Yes.
you have put very good points in those lines. So students, so that's a very insightful discussion and presentation. So if you have any further questions, you can put in chat, utilize the opportunity, because like JP is there for more than a decade in his corporate life, and he can help you understand lot of things.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Arvind. As we are all waiting for this coronavirus uh, vaccine, so I think if it can be implemented or if it can be distributed with the help of a blockchain, it is going to help each and every one of us. In fact, we can easily identify whether it's a fake drug or it's a real drug. So
And even people today are fearing if there is some good coming from China, I want to track and I want to make sure that it's not from
exactly.
China. So I think, so probably that way, see, like, JP, recently in one of our, uh, client discussion, so they are importing PPE kits from South Korea
Hmm.
and they are distributing to all Europe, US markets. Okay.
Okay.
So now the challenge is how come, how to prove that they are sourced from South Korea, but not from China.
Yeah.
So I think,
Seriously. Yeah.
yeah, so I think students, just look, there are new challenges coming up. Okay, it's not only, see, sometimes blockchain is not about breaking the limitations of older systems, but in some sense blockchain is also about building new systems to face new challenges. Okay, yeah, anyways, JP, you have some questions in chat.
Yeah, I'm doing
You can
that.
take
I'm,
them.
I'm answering that.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone was asking about how it is going to be useful for SMEs. For sure, it is going to be useful for SMEs because see, most of the companies they are also worried about the raw materials from where they are procuring it, right? They are also worried about the quality of the products that they are getting it. When the SMEs, when they are supplying the raw materials as well as when they are procuring the raw materials, if this with the blockchain, they can identify, yes, this is the product, this is the quality at which I'm looking for. Even the small the contracts which I mentioned, so if the quality of so and so raw material is provided, so the agreed money will be paid for them. So that way both inward as well as outward, the goods information or goods quality and all can be very well identified or can be tracked using this blockchain, and this is very much required for SMEs in fact, because they don't have any quality systems, because they can't afford to have a better quality system to identify each and every raw material which they procure it. Okay, so with this they can directly get, yes, this is authentic information that I'm getting it, I'm receiving it, so I can trust it and buy it and can pay it as in the agreed terms. Yeah, coming to the identifying the fake drugs, as I mentioned, right, we can identify where exactly it got introduced. Say from the production unit, a lot of drugs are they are sending the drugs to the wholesaler. When they do it, see, production as such, they don't want to introduce the fake product on their name, right? For sure. So when they are supplying it, they'll scan each and every consignment which they have it and send it to the wholesaler. And the wholesaler, if they want to introduce it, the fake product there, so even if they introduce it, when they are scanning it and sending it, or when they are adding that particular block onto the blockchain, so that information is going to be difficult, right? Even if they want to fake the product, maybe they can make it 1:1, not too many for sure. Okay, and when it comes to the retailer, there also there is a chance to introduce the fake products. So at each and every level, when the block is getting added, for each and every medicine that is moving out from their network. So what happens is when it is adding the blockchain, they are making sure that information which is getting added is authenticated and they are responsible for it. Okay, when it moves to the retailer also, this same thing happens. So when the customer scans and sees, yes, this is the fake product, then they'll check it with the retailer and they'll go to, and if it is not really introduced at the retailer level, then for sure it goes to the wholesaler, and they can identify, yes, this is the wholesaler who has done this introduction of this the fake products, and they can easily identify it. Okay, wonderful question. You're asking what are the opportunities that we have it as a fresher. See, why we are studying all this computers and all. You know that IT industry is booming, and we have the opportunities. That is the reason I want to study computer science. I want to learn these different set of technologies and all. The same way, even the blockchain is going to boom, because it is touching each and every area that we are in. Of course, I might have discussed only about the supply chain. Supply chain is, of course, a supply chain touches each and every product that we use, right? Second thing, I've only discussed about supply chain, but I think Arvind might have, I mean, the next session is for telecom, right? In telecom, yes, we need a requirement of a blockchain, particularly when a
Yeah.
roaming scenario.
Yeah. So JP,
Yes, sir.
yesterday we had done with telecom.
Okay.
Today Deepak will have on esports,
Oh, good, good.
CBDC.
It's a very good example. So when what you're going to discuss about in the next half an hour. So the sports, there is a need of a blockchain. I think he'll discuss it in very detail. Okay. In land, a lot of registration issues that we have it, right? Whatever the registration that happens, if my land registration, when it happens, I'm not sure whether it is getting registered only for me or for somebody else as well in the market. Okay, so that registration land documents has an issue. So that is very much required to have the blockchain in place, so that we can have the trust and traceability, who is the actual owner of the land or whatever it may be, the property. And even in the case of cheats, lot of people, I mean, one of the companies, Chitmonk, you can refer to the Google, where you can find that Chitmonk is one of the companies who introduced blockchain in cheats. You are very much aware of the cheats, right? Margadarshi cheats and all. I'm just giving an example. Okay, there are even private cheats that are there in the market. But what are the problems with that cheat? Because every time it may not be possible for you to be part of that the monthly event where you will go and bid for the chit, right? The owner of the chit usually says, yes, this has gone for so amount, but we just believe them and get that information, and we'll pay it accordingly. But by introducing this blockchain, by sitting at home, you can identify what is the actual bid that is happening. You can even participate in that bid if you really want your money. Okay, so like this, there are a lot of things. What is that? I'm not getting. Will cloud and Bitcoin ever collaborate? See, Bitcoin is one of the uh, implementation of the blockchain. It is not the other way. Okay, and cloud. See, I can implement this blockchain on cloud. So there is, see, blockchain is nothing but there are solutions from Oracle. In fact, blockchain solutions are available from Oracle, which you can directly use it. Okay, so that is based on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, that is implemented in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Means that is the implementation thing. I can use it. I can use my own servers, have my own on-premise setup to have the blockchain. I can also use the cloud infrastructure to have my blockchain solution implemented. So
Yeah. To add to that, of course, you can maintain a node or network of private nodes on cloud. But the point is, cloud is again, what to say, the cloud is distributed, distributed network, but blockchain is decentralized network. So I think the architecture wise at network level, they're pretty much different, but still you can maintain a node on cloud by putting virtual machines like EVM or Hyperledger Fabric or whatever. Okay, Balaji. Yeah.
yeah, no issues.
Okay.
Yeah, any other questions that you have?
Okay. In case of CHITS exam.
Yeah. So see, it is. I mean, see, it is the participating. It is the decision of the participating organization. Take an example of. I mean, say Margadarshi. Okay. So if they want to implement this,
Yeah, they will be
they,
maintaining one node. Yeah. See,
yeah,
right. Say for example, a small chit fund company. they will maintain only one node in the network. Of course, they have some, any small company will have some server, or they can maintain their node on cloud infrastructure also. That won't hardly cost much on it. Okay, so don't see, even if you take the Chitbox example, it's a collaboration of government. Okay,
Exactly.
the government mandated all the chit fund companies in the state to organize, to share all the data onto blockchain. Okay, so in that case, probably they can maintain one single node. That's it.
Yeah. So
So
where if they
single node
maintain.
is not a huge cost. It's one-time
Mm.
investment. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks, JP. So now we have Mr. Deepak Agarwal.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Arvind, for the opportunity. I'm logging off. Thank you
Yeah,
very
my
much.
pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
So
Thank
it's
you.
our pleasure to have you here. Thanks. Thanks for wonderful presentation.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Can you, JP? Yeah. Okay, you left. Okay. Yeah, Deepak.
Yes, hi Arvind.
Yeah, hi, hi. So just give me a moment. Let me introduce you.
Yeah, sure.
1 second. So guys, we have Mr. Deepak. 1 second. Okay. So we have Mr. Deepak Agarwal, a very good friend of mine. He's pretty busy guy. Yesterday he got busy and he couldn't join, but I think thanks Deepak for making time for us. So it's our pleasure to have you
No
here.
problem, no problem.
So
Always.
Deepak is a blockchain consultant, and he has been working on blockchain use cases in various domains. And of course, he has around 12 plus years of experience on warehouse management, of course, supply chain management, and some other use case, other industries as well. And one more super thing about him is he's a blockchain enthusiast. Okay, he explores lot of use cases, and recently he did some interesting course on blockchain from New York Institute of Finance on supply chain finance. Okay, so he's such a curious guy, and who explores lot of use cases. And I think today he is going to share two interesting blockchain use cases. One on esports, how blockchain can be used in esports, and second, how blockchain is being leveraged by governments to introduce central bank digital currencies, CBDC. Okay, so over to you, Deepak. You
Yeah,
can
thanks
start,
Arvind for such a wonderful introduction.
yeah.
So, yeah, so you have made me host, right? Okay, so my screen is visible to everyone, correct?
Yes, Deepak. Yes.
Okay, so so guys, we'll start with a digital currency. So as you all know, we are moving to digital world. So we don't want to use fiat currency, especially in the COVID situation. People don't touch fiat currency because it transmit COVID. So it's everything they want to use digital. We are also fearing to use fiat currency, giving money to someone. It's always, and digital currency is always easy to carry also, right? So we need to understand how blockchain can help here. What blockchain has a plan for digital currency? Okay. So so basically the digital currency is still same as a fiat currency, right? It is just a form of digital form of a fiat currency, which is again controlled by government and authority. So if you see the basic difference between cryptocurrency and digital currency. So if you, I'm pretty sure that you all know what is cryptocurrency, right? So cryptocurrency where you don't have any authorities, any government or any other authority to control the flow of cryptocurrency, or control the value of cryptocurrency, or cannot control like where you want to use the cryptocurrencies, right? So because of that, we have seen there is a lot of misuse of cryptocurrencies happening, correct? So people, lot of that hackers, they are using cryptocurrency as a ransomware. They are asking ransom on cryptocurrencies because it's not easy to track it. It's very difficult to track who is asking, who is transferring. So they can easily take money from you and elope, right? Government cannot track them and find who has done what. So that is the misadvantage, misuse people are doing with the cryptocurrencies. So to avoid that, there is another thing which is coming back is CBDC. Okay. So CBDC is centralized bank digital currency, central bank digital currency. Okay. So what a CBDC does is, so it will again be a form of kind of cryptocurrency, but it will be directly under a central bank. Okay. So central bank will keep a control of it. So just a basic difference between how the, if you can say like, okay, you might will ask, okay, then what is the difference between the current digital form of fiat currency and this digital currency which is coming back? So the basic difference will be this: the current digital form of fiat currency is controlled by your local bank. Okay, central bank is giving to the local bank, then local bank is providing you, so you can spend or you can do whatever you want, but it will not be in the form of CBDC. Okay, CBDC will be directly linked with the central bank. Okay, so central bank will directly issue to user and user can spend that. So there will be no intermediary bank. Okay, so that is the basic difference between your e-money and cryptocurrency. So how this will work? Okay, in case of open distributed network versus open centralized network. Okay, so open centralized network means what is happening as of today. Okay, so in an open distributed network, the cryptocurrency is work on a consensus algorithm. Okay, so when I say consensus algorithm, there is a method to find how, who can utilize that, who can participate that, and anyone can participate, right? In open blockchain, if you say the Bitcoin or Ethereum, they are open network. Anyone can go and participate that. Okay, but not everyone can mine, correct? To mine it, you need to solve some puzzle. Okay, you need to work, you need to prove that you are doing some work. So that is called consensus algorithm. So that is POW, proof of work. So you need to solve some puzzle to prove that you are really working towards it. You are doing some work to achieve the block, and then only you can mine it, and your identity will be easily opened. Okay, because anyone can join here. Okay, so there is no restriction, correct? Anyone can go join, participate the network. You can access the ledger, you can view the transaction, but you will not see the exact person detail because the participation identity will be pseudo-anonymous. Okay, so that is how the open distributed network work. But in open centralized network, the things will be in a closed group. Okay, it's not like a open distributed, but there will be a control, there will be a consortium form. Okay, suppose a 20 banks come together, okay, and form a group, and they want to utilize the blockchain for digital currency. Okay, so they'll come together, they'll form a group. So before forming a group, what they'll do, they will share their common understanding. They will make sure whosoever are joining the group, they should know them, or they should prove their identity. Suppose in this group you want to join, okay, so before joining that you need to prove your identity. You cannot just go and directly join it, okay, either as a customer or as a business. You need to prove your identity, then only you can join. So that is the difference between open distributed and open centralized. Okay, so in open centralized you form a consortium and limited number of participant, and then you do the work under those. You do the business among those people, among those institute or those business. Or suppose if you want to join a new business, so that business has to submit their KYC or KYB and get it approved from the consortium head or consortium leader. If everything goes well, then only they can join. So you will know, right? You will know beforehand only who is joining here. But this situation is not same in open distributed network. Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. It's got stuck. Yeah, so that is how digital currency work. Okay, so any question on this particular scenario? Or I can give you an example. Okay, like JP Morgan is planning to launch a currency, digital currencies. Okay, so that will come under CBDC. That will not be cryptocurrency, or that will not be a your normal normal fiat currency, correct? And the basic advantage of this currencies will have the transfer of money. Okay, transfer of money will be very easy here. So you all know, right, how this fiat currency work. So fiat currency has a dependency. Suppose you want to transfer money from India to US, okay, you cannot do directly, right? First you need to contact your first you need to transfer from your Indian bank. Okay, so that Indian bank will contact a Indian central bank. Okay, then it goes to Indian central bank, and then Indian central bank will contact to US central bank. Then they will do the transfer of money from Indian central bank India to central bank US. Then central bank US will contact to that local bank of US where you want to transfer the money. Okay, then they will transfer money to that, and then the person to whom you are transferring will get the money. So this process 3 days. So now it's becomes easy, but still it takes at least a day or two to complete this process. So once this, in case of this CBDC, what will happen? They will, so you pay via fiat currency only. Okay, suppose you are paying a fiat currency, you want to transfer X amount to your friend, okay, in US. So you are paying X amount, you are transferring X amount, but in backend what happens, this CBDC will take place. Either you do directly CBDC, or in backend what will happen, this CBDC will directly go from your central bank to your bank to the your friend's bank directly. Okay, because it is single platform. There is a no conversion. There is no currency conversion happening. Okay, so it does not depends on like INR or USD. So it has their own value. So you transfer X amount of CBDC, your friends will receive X amount of CBDC directly. There is no transfer happening. So in this, the process will be like within a second or 2 seconds, it will be done. So that kind of speed it can achieve. Okay. So any question on this? Shall we move to the next topic?
So Deepak, there is one question in chat. Hello.
Yeah, hi Arvind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am looking into the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
So see, UPI wallet is used basically within country or for small money transfer. Okay. But whereas in this digital currency is very useful when you have a country to one country to other country transfer. Okay. And if you want to do the big money transfers, in those situations, your digital currency will take place, will help you to do that. But for a small amount, definitely same UPI transfer and this transfer is almost same thing, because that also happens in fraction of second. This happens, but think of a bigger picture. Think of where you want to transfer from one country to other country. In that situation, your CBDC will help you. So same thing with PayPal and Skrill, right? PayPal again will not happen in just a moment, correct? If you pay today, they will not within a second or within a 5 seconds, it will not transfer to the US. It will not transfer the money to the US, correct? And there will be a lot of charges you need to pay. Okay, so that is again one more thing where you need to pay the conversion charges. Suppose you are paying INR to USA, USD, correct? So first you need to pay, so top of the bank charges, you need to pay the conversion charges also. But in the case of CBDC, there is no conversion charges, correct? You have X amount of CBDC, you want to transfer X amount of CBDC to your friend, you do the X amount of CBDC to the friend, that's all. There is no conversion charge because it has uniform value across the globe. So that is the advantage over UPI, PayPal, Skrill, those wallets or those third-party tools. Okay. More of you think this is directly controlled by central bank instead of your local bank. Okay. So think of that way because there is no intermediary coming in between, right? So if there's no intermediary, definitely the process is much more simpler and much more faster and less amount of charges you need to pay, correct? Because if it has to go via 4 different parties, all 4 parties will take their cut, correct? But if it is direct to direct transfer, there will be very minimal cut. So those advantage CBDC will give. Any other question? So let's move to esports. Okay. So I am sure definitely you all are know what is esports. People in college or schools nowadays are very highly addicted of playing mobile game, correct? PUBG, some Free Fire. So those games, correct? So you know that MPL, the take example of MPL. MPL, there's a lot of advertisement going, correct? People are winning 4 lakhs rupees, people are winning 5 lakh rupees. But can we trust those advertisement completely? Can we know that that is a very true scenario? No, right? Because still there are, if you go and start reading the reviews of MPL, people say there are bots playing against you. If you play very well, there will be bots playing you and they will beat you. They will not allow you to win. So you are putting money to play game, correct? You are putting X amount to play game and thinking that you will win Y amount. But how you will win the Y amount? So how you will win Y amount when you are not sure that you are the only one who is playing or only the humans are playing. There's no bots against you who plays the game. So that is the disadvantage or that is the scene behind those things going on where you don't have transparency, right? You can't see things very transparent. So those are the disadvantage where people has the talent, but still they are not able to participate completely because they are not assured. They are not assured that they will win or whatever the amount they'll put, they will get back those amount. So you see the figures. In 2018, 2.2 billion gamers in the world, okay, was there. So you think every out of 4 person, every one person is a gamer. Okay, so think the volume or number of people in the gamer, but the revenue is only 1.5 billion. Means the very less revenues they are getting. So where the revenues are going? It's again going to the game company, correct? Who is designing the game? Because there's no transparency, they are not giving money to the gamer. They are keeping money to themselves. They are just asking people to come play with us, but they are not giving money. They're just keeping it with themselves. Okay. So that's as I discussed, right? The challenges there are currently, we have a lot of challenges with esports, not self-sustaining. Okay, the same thing, because there is no legitimate. So there's no legitimacy which can prove that you are the true player, or there is a player who is playing against you is a human or is a legitimate player. That kind of transparency is not there. Okay, and in fact, if you win also, there is a process, lot of process happens. Okay, they are cutting lot of charges, they are putting this charge, that charge, and and it not even, sometime it not even happen instant also. In many scenario it happen instant, you'll get the reward, but sometime you'll not get reward very instant, or they will give the reward in some other form. Okay, so you'll not be able to convert those. They'll give you form in the point, but you will not know how to convert those point, or they'll give reward into some other voucher form or something form which you are not sure how to use that. So those kind of problem is there. Okay, and the same thing like visibility. Obviously you don't know who is playing against you or how many players are playing, right? Suppose you are playing in a game, you don't know who are the followers, who are the fans, how many players are playing, who are the true player, who is the fake player. So those visibilities are not there. And the money involved currently as a reward is fiat currency, right? So suppose you are playing a game which is US based game. Okay, so there is a lot of regulation attached to it. Okay, so if you're playing those game, so they will give money in USD. Okay, suppose you win the reward also, they'll give money in USD. So how you will transfer that to India account? Some will allow you to get in India account. Some company, what they'll ask, they'll expect you to have a US account where they can transfer your dollar money. So how you'll open a US account? You don't have an option to do that. So those kind of dependency is there which makes reward to slow down to reach you. Okay, so those are the challenges. So to overcome these challenges, there is a company called eByte. Okay, so what does eByte has does? eByte has created a platform which is on a blockchain based. Okay, and all the players come and play into the game, and they'll know each other because it's a blockchain based. So you have the transparency, you know who is playing, you cannot fake any player, you cannot involve bot. Okay, so those kind of platform it provide, and if you earn a money, they will give you a cryptocurrency. Okay, they will reward a cryptocurrency to you. They have the token system, so they'll give you the token, and that token either you can utilize in the game itself to buy some avatar or some other weapons if you have the game, or some other label upgrade or life, those things you can buy. Or they have the partner channel. Okay, where you can go and buy sports goodies. Okay, like sport t-shirts, sports hat, or sports some, like in your laptop you need some gaming device, so those gaming device you can buy. So those kind of infrastructure they provide. Okay, so how this esports currently, that we have all discussed, right? Because players are investing a lot of money, lot of energy, but getting nothing. No security, first thing, no security, no safety, and return is also very slow. So because of that, what is happening currently, not many companies are coming for as a sponsorship also. Okay, so if you suppose a lot of people are playing so much game, but how many tournament happens? Very few, right? Why this so? Because of this, because of unclarity, no transparency, non-legitimate. Okay, so because of these challenges, what happens? Companies are not coming ahead to sponsor this kind of gaming competitions, because again you are not sure, because you need to play a game online. So what I can do behind the screen, I can put a board to play against you. You will never win. You will never win into the game. So there is a challenge, right? So these all the challenges are there. That's why the organization are also not coming ahead. Many organizers are not coming. There are n number of organizers who want to organize this kind of event, but because of lot of challenges, money involved, fiat currencies, other challenges, so they are not able to do that. They are not able to organize such kind of event. Okay, so how it will happen in the latest, as I told, right? It will have a blockchain platform where all the stakeholder under one stakeholder. When I say stakeholder, it's like organizer, player, everyone is under one roof. Okay, even the gaming company who is designing the game, who are sponsoring the game, the people who are playing the game, people who are designing the game, they are all under the blockchain platform. Okay, so in that it is very easy to distribute prize money, transfer of player, sponsorship, media rights. It's good to do advertisement and many more things. Okay, because in one platform there are transparency coming up, so people can see who is playing, and people can see the transaction also. Stakeholder, suppose I am a sponsor. Okay, I want to sponsor X amount to your sports competition. Okay, but I'm not sure how many people will come, or there is already a players are playing, but I don't know how many. This your company can say there's a 1 lakh subscriber is there, but do we really have 1 lakh subscriber? How we will prove that? In normal scenario we can't do that, right? But in blockchain, if you have 1 lakh subscriber, there will be the transactions. When the player will join, there will be a transactions. So I can check the transactions, and and make sure that there are 1 lakh player available on the platform. Then I will be assured, okay, so there are 1 lakh players. So if I sponsor, if I put my advertisement into the game, at least 1 lakh gamer will see my advertisement, and then I can get ROI out of whatever the amount I am spending here. So those kind of transparency comes here. Okay, and it's all blockchain, all we know, right? It's all driven as a smart contract, right? So smart contract, while creating a smart contract only, you can have a terms and condition defined. Okay, so no need to have a runtime agreement, or so there's a lot of disclaimers comes nowadays, right? Terms and condition can be changed any moment without informing you. Okay, so you have the reward. Okay, you have the game going on, you have the reward of X amount, there's a disclaimer coming. Terms and condition can be changed at any moment. You are playing, at end of the day terms and condition changes and you are not winning, or amount has been reduced. They have put X amount has been reduced to X by 2. So you will feel like you have cheated. right? But those things will not happen in smart contract because everything is predefined. Okay, everything is driven by smart contract. You write all the terms and condition in smart contract, and a smart contract automatically execute. If you are playing, you are winning, a smart contract will automatically transfer X amount to your account. So there is no third party intervention, there is no follow up happens. So it's very transparent. Okay, it's give you so much easy work or so much transparency to look into it, and it's very fast also, right? And you cannot change. That is one basic funda of blockchain. You cannot change whatever is written once. So once you win, no one from backend changes can change that you have not win, right? You cannot, no one can make them make you second position if you are first position. But in the normal scenario it can possible. You know that you are the first position, but at the very last moment, just a fraction of second is left, you will move down to second position or third position. Some boats will come down or some else will come down, come up above you. Okay, you will feel like cheated, you will not know what has happened. But those things will not happen in case of blockchain. So that is, this all funda is giving by eBytes. So eByte has bring all of these things. So this is the advantage we are getting. So that's all from my side. Any question on this particular system? Anyone want to know more about how esports work and all? No, so question to Nandan. Okay, how they will know that it's a loss to them? They will not see, so basic funda. Organizer, how organizer earns the money? Organizer earns the money with the sponsorship, media right, advertisement, those things, right? So if you have a transparency, okay, if you have a system which is very transfer, then you will get lot of sponsorship, correct? If you are able to prove it that you have a system which is legitimate, okay, where all the players are legitimate, all the stakeholders are legitimate, the money will flow, right? You'll get the sponsorship, you'll get the good amount of sponsorship, good amount of advertisement, and then you will not lose money. Even if you will earn extra money, you will earn money better than what you were earning, because you are not, organizers are not putting money from your pocket, right? From their pocket. It's always comes from the sponsorship. Okay. So if suppose today you have one sponsorship, future you are getting 10 sponsorship. So 10 is always better than one, right? So if I implement blockchain and I'm getting 10 sponsorship, so definitely my market value is growing. So just I'll give one example. Okay, I have an MPL game. Okay, and I'll create similar game in blockchain platform. Okay, so what you will prefer, to play in MPL or play in the blockchain based game? Your answer should straightly be the blockchain based game, right? Because you know the transparency. Why you will play? Why you will play NPL? The same, both places you have to put money and you have to win. Okay, but you are again choosing the blockchain based platform. Why? Because you know there are no bots playing in that blockchain based game. There's no uh, fake thing happening in the blockchain based game. So you know, if you are good in game, you have the, at least you can assure yourself that you will win X amount, you will win good money. So that is the one. So that is the difference. So definitely there's the same thing happens. So if people are moving towards blockchain based gaming platform, sponsorship will again come, start flowing, right? So that is the one. That is the answer to your question. Anything else? So Yeah, Arvind, I am done.
Okay. So I think there are.
So yeah, so the same, this answer is again blockchain. Okay.
How can we detect? Okay.
See, fraud is again the same thing. Answer is blockchain. When you have a blockchain, so as we already discussed, right? Open distributed and open centralized that we have discussed, correct? In CBDC. So same funda work here, private network and public network. Okay. So blockchain based scheme is a private network where everyone joins by proving a KYC. Okay. And even organizer, I'm saying organizer, once the network is formed, organizer cannot join someone without KYC or without any KYB. Okay, so they have to prove the identity of any participant. It doesn't mean you are an organizer, you are a player, you are a stakeholder, who you are. So everyone has to prove their identity before joining it. So you can easily avoid bots, right? That is one thing. Second thing, it's all smart contract driven. Okay, so suppose you are playing a game, you are winning X amount of money. Okay, so no manual transfer happening like a normal game, normal system. It can be avoided. It can be changed. You win X amount. Later point of time, I say no. The terms and condition change, and it become X by 2 amount, or it become zero amount whatsoever. And while transferring, I'll say this amount deducted, that amount deducted. But it is a smart contract driven. So as soon as you win, money is transferred to your bank directly, or your wallet, whatever is designed in the smart contract. So that way we can easily prevent frauds and detect also. Okay. No, I have not played e-bite for sure. I'm not a gaming person. Okay, I'm not a game lover, so I have not played e-bite. You guys can try. You guys can download and try. It's available. You guys can try that. Yes, it is sounds good for financial market. So data is new oil. That is very true. So that is why we need more of security, right? So that is why the blockchain is more needed, because it's all data. End of the day, it's all data. Okay. If you lose your data, see the Facebook challenge you might have heard, right? Where they have that Cambridge Analysis company, they have shared the data, they have influenced the people to win one government. How they can do based on your data, right? So how they analyze the data, what the post you are doing in Facebook throughout the year. If you are liking some political agendas, or putting comment on some political agenda, what they'll do, they'll take all those data, they'll analyze the data, create a agenda for that. Okay, so they'll know what people are started liking, what people are not liking about the current government, where the current government are lagging. So those they can define using your data. Okay, and then they give it to the opposition party, and opposition party can work on those particular agendas and win the game, win the election. They do something or not, that is different thing. So that is why protecting your data is very much needed, because if someone will take your data, they can even drive you. Okay, so such technology is available nowadays in the market. So if I can get your data, I can drive you. I can make sure whatever I want you to do, you will do that only. So that's why the data is oil, and preventing keeping data safe is very much needed. So definitely it's going to be a big thing. So one day, or That see, esports will definitely come in India. Okay, so in India things are happening slow because before anything coming, before we are not something which are ready to take new things, because there are a number of challenges. We have infrastructure challenge or other challenges, so we always see how a global react on something and then we take action on it. Simple thing, cryptocurrency 2 to 3 years back, people were saying cryptocurrency will be banned in India and no one will be able to do that. At least now the talks have started. Government has started talking on that. They might, they are thinking of taking the ban out of cryptocurrencies. So things will happen, but it will definitely happen. We will also adopt all the changes happening across the globe. So esports will definitely come to India in a day, in some time, in a year or 2 years. Is there anything? Yes, there are a lot of CBDC happening. There is lot of CBDC happening across the world. Okay, I can give you
The
few
best
examples.
example is China, Europe, digital euro. You can just go Ramkrishna and check. CBDC is already being tested by China, Europe, and some other markets, other governments also.
Yeah, China is, they have already taken that. China is already doing that.
Okay. Activity diagram of what do you mean
Activity
by that?
diagram of
Again, I didn't
esports.
understand.
What does that mean, activity diagram? Did not understand. Rakesh, could you explain that?
Okay, do one thing, at least if I understand right, you want to understand how that works. So probably every blockchain platform releases a white paper. Okay. So white paper is where everything will be explicitly discussed, explained. Okay. So probably try to see if eByte has published some white paper on its blockchain platform.
Yes, there are a lot of, there you'll get a eByte. You go to the eByte website, you will get the architectural representation there.
Yeah, because every blockchain platform believes in transparency and they expose everything, like they keep everything open.
In fact, if you find, you can get a GitHub link also where you can even see some smart contract as well.
Yeah, even the smart contracts are open source.
So it's like, that's what I'm saying is blockchains are very transparent. Okay, you can see what is happening there. So all the smart contracts, everything is available. Okay, you just need to find, go, might be in the website only you can find, or just Google it out somewhere. You can find in GitHub. There are all the source codes and all. So you go check the source code, go read the smart contract, what is defined. If you like, you can be the part of the game, you can play the game. So that's how it is, so transparent.
Will you answer or?
Let me answer it. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's not revolutionized. If you see from 2010, there are a lot of industry is exploring. Okay, so see, change does not come in a day or two. Correct? To coming the change, it takes time. So people are currently, if you see, people are at the POC level. Okay, in every industry, you name one industry, you will find a blockchain POC there. Okay, so it's always, see, people are always reluctant to use what they are using. Most of the organization, they have already spent huge money on the current system. Okay, so bringing something top of that or connecting your system with another system, it takes time, because very few people Still, I will say, still people have not understood the exact advantage of blockchain, what blockchain can give them. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, in supply chain, Walmart has already decided to do the track and trace using blockchain. They have done the pilot on a mangoes, and how they come up with those scenarios. One time they decided to track few batch of pork, okay, or ham. They took around 16 to 70 days to find the exact origin of that pork. It took them that much amount of time to find who was the farmer who provided the food. Okay, so then they decided how they can minimize it. What kind of platform they can use, which will help them to get this information in a second, in a fraction of second. Or they see, still they were able to do it because they had a connection. But if I or you wanted to do it, we could not have even found that who was a farmer who have provided folk to industries who cut the folk or freshen up the folks. Okay, we could not have found because we do not know the connections. They had the connections, and then it took 17 to 18 days. So then they have come up with the blockchain. They contacted the companies who do the blockchain, and they created a pilot project, and they successfully used the pilot project. And now the mainstreams, they are working under the mainstreams. Okay, so as currently I'll say that there are few challenges in blockchain also, like throughput, TPA, transaction per second. So those are few challenges still we have in blockchain, so that people are working to increase the throughput of the system and increase the efficiency of the system. So definitely, I'll say in coming 2 to 3 years, you will say many work going to the in blockchain area. You want to add anything, Arvind?
Deepak, last sentence was breaking. Can you repeat it?
So I was saying, in coming 2 to 3 years, definitely we'll see many mainstream projects in productions. People in real time, we can see the people using blockchain as a solution.
Yes, yes. See, Ramakrishna, to add to that, I told you blockchain is a consortium effort. Multiple companies in a ecosystem should come together to create a blockchain platform. So, see, implementing a technology within organization itself has a lot of challenges. Okay. Now, bringing multiple companies to use a common platform will take more time. Okay. So that is also one of the main reason which is challenge for blockchain adoption within last few years, because each stakeholder have different priorities, different expectations. Now all the companies should, the leadership of all companies should come together, they should discuss. Okay, so arranging a meet with CEO itself will take 15-20 days or 1 month, depends on whom you are who is approaching. So there are a lot of business challenges more than technology challenges, which is bringing more delay in blockchain adoption. Okay. So anyways, by chance or by luck, if you people get into blockchain industry down the line, you will realize why things are becoming slow. But technology wise, I think almost all leaders realized the value, and they are doing as Deepak mentioned, they are doing a lot of pilot projects. Okay. And will digital currency take over traditional currency? Of course, yes. Because today, why people started using bitcoins? Because at 0.7% or 0.5% I can do global transactions. Okay, so that is why now all governments are also trying to use private blockchain as a backend, which are regulated by them, but still faster as equal to cost effective as equal to cryptocurrency things. So I think, yes, digital currency will catch up. Okay. So I think thanks Deepak for your time.
Yeah. So just one more thing I want to put here.
Yeah, please.
So on those mainstream products, I'll say, as you say, consortium things. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll give you one example. I am not sure how many of you aware of IBM and Masrek joint venture. Okay. So Masrek is a shipping container company, and IBM, they come together and started a project where they want to track the containers.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jaiprakash gave that example. Yes, please go ahead. They know.
Okay. So that challenge, that project was started, they did pilot, but did not turn up because, see, in the pilot you have 2-3 people, 2-3 actors. You can form a consortium, do the pilot, but when it comes to the mainstream, you need to bring all of your vendors, right? If one of the vendor is not agreeing, the consortium will not work. So bringing all the vendor into one platform is the challenge. So those kind of challenge still blockchain is facing because people are not fully aware of the advantage of blockchain. So that is what I want to say. So that's all from my side. Thanks, Arvind.
So thanks Deepak. So thank you Sahitya Garu for hosting. So guys, one more announcement. Don't leave. Regarding tomorrow's session. Okay. So I have gone through all the what to say, the convenient times filled by you. Okay. So today is Thursday, right? So anyways, tomorrow let's plan a session at morning 7:30 a.m. Okay. One second, let me share the screen. So guys, see, if you look at this thing, 21%. Okay, so around 14 plus 22, that means around 36. See, 36 students out of 64, they said any time is okay. So we are planning 7:30 to 9 a.m. for these people. Okay, and for all other people, they have put up different time slots. So I think it has become little tough for us to see how to batch these people. Okay, so it may take some time, at least a day, to figure out these people, group them and ask them. So what shall I do? Okay, so tomorrow, okay, what is I put 9? I didn't understand. That's okay. Okay, let's do one thing, guys. Tomorrow we'll have morning 7:30 to 9. Okay, and all the people who join tomorrow, I'll consider that it is okay for you, and all people who couldn't join, I'll note their numbers or something. Let me do something and then figure out what we'll do for them. Okay, so all people who are convenient to join from 7:30 to 9, please join. Okay, and please share in the group also. Okay, please share in the group also, because I think already few people lost. Okay, already it's 56 people. So out of 64, let's see, tomorrow 7:30 to 9 we'll have session. Okay. Sahitya Garu.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Arvind garu chepandi.
Yeah. So is it okay and like tomorrow morning 7:30?
Yeah, it will be fine. Fine
You
to
can
me,
host,
but
right? Yeah, you can host it, right?
Yes, yes, sure. I will do it.
Yeah. Sorry for inconvenience, but so let's host at 7:30. Okay, and let's see how many students turn up. And for others,
Yes.
we'll plan other batch. So we'll do it in 2 pieces.
Okay, you're ready for another batch also. At what time actually? Can you?
Yeah. So anyways, for the other batch, we'll do 1 project. For this batch, we'll do 2 projects.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So all the students will be divided into 3 groups. Each project will do 1 capstone project. Okay. So that is the plan.
Yeah, it seems fine.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's catch up tomorrow morning 7:30.